Do you believe him? And if not, why would he do this?
I mean, I don't believe him. I think the Chicago superintendent has made clear why we should not believe him. There are a lot of questions about the story from the very beginning. I mean, the original story is that he went out at 2 a.m. in the middle of a polar vortex in Chicago to go get a Subway sandwich. He was on camera this entire time, and then he disappears for a minute. When he reemerges from the cameras, he suddenly has a noose around his neck. He's been hit with bleach, but he's still holding the Subway sandwich. And one of the big things I think that's problematic with how the media treats this sort of stuff is that if you asked questions at the beginning, there was a sort of pushback. Don't ask questions, don't ask questions. We must believe all people who make allegations. And I'm fine with believing initial allegations, but you do have to ask evidentiary questions when questions arise.
Well, absolutely. Now, Clay, you say that hate crimes are personal to you. Tell me why.
Well, as a black gay man who grew up in Philadelphia, I had so many experiences that may not have made sense to other people. It may have been bizarre, it may have been strange, but friends that I knew, being assaulted, being killed, this was almost normal where I grew up. So when I initially heard the story from Jussie, I had compassion. I was saddened to hear that this may have happened. And I understand why folks are skeptical, but I do believe that he deserves due process.
There is a lot of evidence on both sides, correct?
Absolutely. Sure there is. I mean, there's no doubting that. But, you know, here's the thing. I have seen police officers, with all due respect to law enforcement, I have family who are part of law enforcement, but I've seen police officers shot and kill unarmed black children on camera, and they got due process, and they were convicted. So my only thing is to ask for, if Jussie did this, it's deplorable, it cannot be defended, but let's give him the kind of due process that we give a police officer who shot and kills a young unarmed black man on camera in Chicago.
And Ben, you don't disagree with giving the man due process, right?
Of course, everybody should have due process. One of my big objections here is that immediately upon Jussie Smollett telling his story, you had two presidential candidates among the Democrats, Cory Booker and Kamala Harris, both come out and call it a modern-day lynching without calling for more information, without calling for due process. His story, again, was full of holes, not just in the timeline, but the very notion that there were two MAGA-hatted white guys walking around at 2 a.m. in Chicago, which is an extraordinarily democratic city. And they were shouting, "This is MAGA country," while trying to hang a guy they watched on Empire.
Right here, what Ben just said is not true. Jussie Smollett never said they were wearing MAGA hats. So do you see how quickly the
He said they were wearing
changes?
red hats, and that they were shouting, "This is MAGA country."
Ben, you're wrong. He only said MAGA country. There was nothing about wearing a red hat. Trump came out as well. Trump said that this is the worst thing ever. So it wasn't just Democrats. People defaulted to compassion. People defaulted to having sincerity, and there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of things need to be researched. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Hate crimes are one of the most underreported crimes in America. Like 50%, statistics tell us 50% of the victims don't report the crimes. And statistics also tell us that a high percentage of those that report the crimes are in fact telling the truth, and they are verified once they're looked into. So I certainly don't want this to cause people that are victims of hate crimes to not come forward and exercise their right to protection and due process.
Let's not make it bigger to what it actually is, right? He stands on his own. He doesn't speak for every black LGBT person. But if you don't believe a victim of a hate crime, that is your own issue. That is not Jussie Smollett's fault.